Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's another edition of Wasted Pitch.
Wasted Pitch.
Let's jump right into it today. We got some quick hits for you.
Quick hits.
There it is. Thank you. That's your signature.
That's it, man. That's my go-to.
Yeah, it's right there.
One of these days, we'll keep a recording of it so he doesn't have to do it every week.
No, it's better when he does it.
Yeah, I gotta make it live.
Gives him a chance to
on the spot.
Let's do it live.
Fresh.
What do we got this week, Paul? Eric?
Well, I think one of the biggest quick hits stories is Shohei done for the season now.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Dunzo.
I think he cleaned out his locker already, if I read this correctly.
I think they cleaned out his locker.
Yeah.
What?
But he showed up in the dugout last night.
Yeah, I saw that. That's kind of weird. What a weird little thing to add to it. Like locker cleaned out. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it was like when it first happened, I don't know, a few days ago. It was kind of like everybody went into conspiracy mode. Like, well, what's going on? Why is his locker cleaned out?
What does this mean?
Yeah. But it's probably nothing. He's obviously done for the season with his injury, and then the locker clean out is either they just wanted to get his shit out of there as quickly as possible, or there was a more logical reason for it.
Do you think it was like his agent that was just like, you know what? You're like, my boy is injured. You're trying to work him too hard. Quit trying to sneak him into the lineup. Like, forget this selling tickets bullshit or whatever we've been talking about. Like, is he just like, man, he's got to be healthy for whoever he's playing for next this summer kind of thing? Like, do you think that had something to do with it?
For sure. I mean,
definitely, yeah.
If you run the risk of getting injured again, or
even worse, whatever it is.
Making it worse than what it is now. Even if it's just so few games left. I mean, they have, 10 games left? 12 games?
Like 2 weeks worth, right?
Yeah, something like that.
2.5 weeks, yeah.
So there probably had to have been some sort of discussion like, hey, get him the fuck out of here. Otherwise, he's going to miss out on... He could potentially miss out on his next big move.
So other teams can't negotiate with him for next season until the World Series is over, correct?
Yes.
I believe so.
So it's not like a behind-the-scenes deal. Hey, if you get surgery now, we'll give you a good offer for next year.
Man.
Sounds like some Boston shit, man.
Yeah, well, yes, no, of course they can't do that. But come on, man. There might be some of that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Or his agent saying, if you let's end the season now.
Yeah.
Do your surgery, do your rehab.
Yeah.
Let's see where
is he
you
getting
are.
surgery?
Well, if he wants to be a pitcher again, he's going to need surgery.
Yeah.
He's going to need to get that surgery sometime.
Yeah.
This is the UCL tear. Okay.
Might as well get it now.
And the Tommy John is what exactly? Like, where is that one? What surgery is that on?
Good question.
I think it's like right here, isn't it? Like right up in this elbow area.
It's all like on that inside elbow area. That's why he can still hit versus throw. But
the
I've been having some pain in my
ligament,
left elbow. I wonder if I need to get Tommy John.
The ulnar collateral ligament is inside the elbow.
And that's Tommy John surgery?
Yes.
Okay. So a second Tommy John in like 4 years.
Yep.
Yowzer. That can't be good. He should just get a bionic elbow here in a minute.
Yes.
That would be cool, actually.
Yes.
I vote that.
Yeah.
We have some big news out of Boston.
Indeed.
Eric.
Chaim
Bloom is gone.
Out. Yeah. Kicked him to the curb.
What the heck?
What was the deal with that? Why did they... he was only there for 4 years, right?
4 years. horrible record in the 4 years.
It was
Stories of
2 games above 500 or something like that, wasn't it? Which is
something like that.
yeah, it was ridiculous.
There have been stories that have come out since about his management style kind of being wishy-washy and not being definitive. Let's go get this guy. Yeah. So.
And he came from Tampa Bay, right?
Yes.
And he had some pretty successful years in Tampa Bay.
He was very successful in Tampa Bay. They owe a lot of what they are today to what he did there. Now the problem is getting a new guy when we've gone through, I think, 3 or 4 guys in 10 years.
Yeah. Is this suddenly not as much of a wanted job?
Yeah, though if you can turn around the team, you're golden.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something about it. It makes it a hard position to keep, to do well.
Who was in there before him? Wasn't it Dombrowski? Is that who it was?
Dombrowski.
Yeah, he was a really short-term GM.
Yeah. He was front office before that, I think.
Okay.
And then before that was, what's his name?
The dude who went to Chicago.
Yeah. Who's everyone is saying will be the next. Yeah, now I got to look this up. That's going to bother me. Epstein. Theo Epstein.
That's the one.
Is there a short list of people that they're looking at?
I have not heard anything yet.
Oh, okay. You don't have the inside scoop, Eric?
I do not.
MLB Trade Rumors posted something about, and it was somebody from the Dodgers, their assistant GM, another assistant GM from Cleveland, and just kind of some random people. Nobody that looked like they had a lot of experience, but just some randoms that have been there, been in the game for a hot minute, could do the job, but not an exciting hire of any sort at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I can never get excited about GM hires, though.
Right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's one GM in the league where I'd be like, oh, yeah. Unless it was... Yeah, see, I can't even think of anybody that I would go crazy about.
Trader Jerry. That's the one, man. He's the most exciting GM in all of baseball.
Yeah, sure.
And nerve-wracking.
Sure. Since we're talking about the AL East, the Orioles... What did they do? They secured their tiebreak against Tampa.
Yeah. So that's awesome for them. I mean, great for the organization. Good Lord. How long has it been? But yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Because they'll be back.
I think the last time they were in the playoffs was 2014 or 2016 or something like that.
Been a hot minute.
It's been a while.
They developed some good young players.
Wasn't very long.
And if I do recall, Paul kind of called this at the beginning of the season. And Eric made fun of him. I probably made fun of you too, Paul. I'm not going to lie.
That's totally a thing.
Definitely did.
But you were right. You were obviously spot on with your prediction about the Orioles. I don't know, blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. But
hey.
They're a fun team to watch, and I don't know. We'll see. The American League is kind of weird to me this year.
It is.
It's kind of younger, up and coming teams. I have no faith in anybody from the AL Central to do anything. So it's
sorry, that was
you
good.
Killed Paul.
Sorry, that was good. Well, yeah, exactly. Royals crushing the fucking Astros right now. It's
yeah.
What are they doing? How are they doing this?
Yeah. Well, and I just mean the Twins are going to represent the AL Central most likely. Is that right?
Yes.
Twins or Guardians, one of those.
Yeah.
But
Twins.
Yeah, they're just not.
Guardians are 7 behind them, so yeah, Twins.
Okay, yeah, Twins. Yeah, it's an AL East and AL West kind of playoff this year, as it is most years.
But it's kind of coming down to Orioles, Rays kind of situation. Those are by far the best teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Braves, Dodgers, Orioles, Rays. That's kind of the top big dogs.
And it probably won't be any of those teams in the World Series.
Probably
That's
not.
going to be hilarious.
Yeah. It'll be the Mariners. Fuck yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. The Mariners are a little bit on the struggle bus.
Hey, man. Yeah, they are.
Like I said, the Royals have given you guys a golden opportunity to
Well, yeah,
take some spots.
you're right. I mean, it's what's really exciting and sort of nerve-wracking is like we have 7 games with Texas.
Yeah.
3 against Astros after this as well, but it's like that's going to be some good times. It's going to be really awesome if it kind of comes down to the very last game of the season kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because it's in Seattle, and you guys are playing is it Rangers in Seattle?
Yeah, in Texas, in Houston. No, in Texas, then Seattle and Houston, and Seattle, in Texas, in Seattle. But I think we actually have one more series against the A's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. And you know what? Like the A's were just beating the Astros a minute ago too. So yeah, we might get fucked. I mean, my language, but yeah. Crazy.
Oh, yeah, watch your language on this podcast,
yeah,
Paul.
exactly.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Fucking Christ. We have some playoffs clinched. Some divisions clinched. Is that correct? Dodgers clinched last night against your Seattle Mariners, which was, when I looked at the score, I was quite surprised because wasn't it 0-0 until
like the 8th or 9th inning?
Bottom of the 9th or some shit like that.
Yeah. And then it was like, man, that ghost runner starting every extra inning is pretty exciting. And it's just like, it gets, you're literally like one hit away, a single away from getting that run in.
Yeah.
And and it was like the 11th inning, I think, top of the 11th, they got like 4 runs, just reeled them off. And it was just like, we got 1 run back, but no bueno. 6-2, I think it was.
So Dodgers clinched. Who else do we have? Braves clinched like 7 weeks ago or some shit like that.
Right.
Anybody else? Has anybody else clinched yet?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Did you
They're
say
close though, right?
Eric, Baltimore's like a game out from clinching? Something like that?
Baltimore is... I can't do the math in my head. But yeah, they're very close.
Okay. What about the NL Central? What do we have there?
Central. Milwaukee is leading by 6.5 over the Cubs.
Okay. So they're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely the people, except for the AL West, the leaders have a good, and the AL East, the leaders have a good head start.
Okay.
On the second place.
So is the AL West really
let's just go through it. Let's go through it. Baltimore is a game ahead of Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Minnesota is 7 games ahead of Cleveland.
Okay.
Houston is half a game ahead of Texas and a game and a half ahead of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
The NL East, Atlanta's clinched over Philly, who's 15 games back.
Good God.
NL Central, Milwaukee is 6.5 games ahead of the Cubs. And the Dodgers have clinched in the NL West, 13.5 games ahead of Arizona.
Okay. So AL West is pretty much the closest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The tightest.
Yes.
I like it.
It's going to be
I
exciting.
didn't expect it, but I like it.
Yep.
Okay.
Also,
2 weeks left.
Speaking of AL West, sorry, really quick, Max Scherzer, done.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right? Teres major strain in his boob muscle or something. Chest.
Yeah. These guys are bunch of wussies.
That's just crazy. One of the biggest trades at the deadline, and he's done. I wonder if there was anything that worked up to that, or if this is just completely freak accident.
I don't know. You would think that they would have done their due diligence to find out if he was. I mean, they have to do a physical, obviously.
Yeah.
And maybe it just didn't get caught, or they caught it and thought maybe he could get through the season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of weird. It seems like there's certainly some players that don't want to play through any sort of injury. Mm-hmm. Anthony Rendon, for example,
stubs his toe and is out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, and the reason he's out right now is because of like a bone bruise or something like that.
Who is it that just came out and said that they've been playing for like 2 weeks with an injury?
It was Rendon. He said something about...
Is it Rendon?
Yeah, God, what did he say it was? But he totally was like, yeah, I've actually had like a broken rib this whole time or something. And it's like, oh, Jesus, dude.
Yeah, that guy. And somebody asked him if he's contemplated retirement. And he's like, I've been contemplating that for 10 years or something like that. I'm like, what is wrong with you, man?
Yeah, dude.
Do you just hate your job?
Ever since he went to the Angels, he's probably started hating his job. He's just...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, crapping his pants.
All right, everybody. To finish up our little series on the Black Sox, we went ahead and watched the feature film, 8 Men Out. I had never seen this before. You guys have never seen this before either, right?
Never.
I had, yeah, but it'd been, the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Even though this came out in like late 80s too.
Yeah, so the movie was made in 1988. It wasn't really a box office smash, which is not unsurprising, but I looked it up and it cost $6 million to make, and it only grossed $5.6 million at the box office.
Ooh.
It was written and directed by John Sayles, who I've never heard of. He
Never
had
heard
some
of John Sayles?
No. Is that weird?
What else did he do?
I believe he's like an Academy Award winner.
Well, I don't know every Academy Award-winning director. What else did he do, Eric? What did he win an Academy Award for?
I'm looking.
Come on, big shot. Oh, so you don't know what he...
I don't know off the top of my head.
Jesus.
He ended up
Lone Star, 8 Men Out.
Lone Star.
A bunch of other stuff. Looking for... Well, maybe he's not an Academy Award winner.
Yeah.
Okay. City of Hope. Doesn't have the shining resume I thought he did.
Yeah, so I was right to not really know who the fuck he was.
Watch Lone Star. It's a good movie.
Okay. So he had some additional help from Elliot Asinoff's book of the same title. And I think Elliot Asinoff kind of helped direct or write some of this as well. Big list of stars in this one.
Huge.
Big list. John Cusack plays Buck Weaver. Charlie Sheen, Mr. Tigerblood himself, plays Happy Felsh. David Strathairn, who I think is probably my favorite actor in this movie. He plays Eddie Sykott. One thing I noticed is that I called him Eddie Sykott throughout our whole process of this podcast. They call him Eddie Seacott. I'm not sure which one is right because the documentary that I watched, they called him Sykott, and that documentary had Mr. Elliot Asinoff in it himself. So Seacott, Sykott, tomato, doesn't really matter.
Right.
Christopher Lloyd plays Bill Burns. For some reason, he looks way younger in this than he did in
he does.
his other movies.
But he kind of looks the same. Like the guy, kind of still looks kind of old for a young guy. But yeah. But he was great. He was good.
Michael Rooker plays Chick Gandil. D.B. Sweeney was Joe Jackson. And DB is best known for his role in the classic ice skating romance thriller, The Cutting Edge.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
John Mahoney plays Kid Gleason, and John is the dad from Frasier.
He was great.
He was. Charles Comiskey is played by Clifton James. And fun fact for you guys, this wasn't his first baseball movie. Bad News Bears Breaking Training, which I never saw. Obviously, there's more actors and actresses in here, but those are kind of the highlights. Did you want to add anything else in terms of actors or actresses that you noticed?
No.
Okay. So we get right into the action from the start, I would say. It's like downtown Chicago.
That start kind of jumped right in, and it took me a minute to kind of figure out where they were at in this whole process, because it was almost like a week before the World Series or something. They're planning this. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like in the movie.
Yeah.
I kind of like that part of it.
What's that?
Well, and the whole beginning of it was a little weird. Like the intro was weird, where it was just like clouds. It was like blue sky and clouds, and there's music playing, and then the names are coming through. I thought that was just a weird way to start it out. But then it's like bang bang, here we are. They're like downtown Chicago, There's like good old fashioned jazz music playing.
Yeah.
Or as it was known back then, it was hot jazz, which they stick with like throughout the whole movie. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, that was good.
I would say the first scene does a good job like painting a picture of baseball in the early 20th century. At least it felt like it. It felt genuine. You know, there's like people rushing to get to the stadium to see the White Sox. Everybody's dressed to the nines. There's people smoking in the stands.
The good old days.
Good old days.
Yeah, the good old days when you could smoke at the baseball stadium.
As long as you were wearing a 3-piece suit.
Yes.
Right. Players are wearing like the super heavy wool uniforms. It just like painted a good picture right from the get-go, I felt like.
One of the funny things about that intro, or when they're showing highlights and whatnot, and they show, I don't know if it's I think it's John Cusack, Buck Weaver, like sliding into third base, but it's all this massive loose dirt, almost like a sand pit of dirt around second base or third base. Dirt, dust everywhere. It's just like,
well, they probably, I mean, you got to think about it. They probably didn't water that dirt.
No. Not so much watered it, but it didn't even look like it was like even tended to, you know, a week prior. It was just hilariously loose.
We find pretty quickly that this movie, like we said, it starts off late in the season because one of the first characters that we meet is Charles Comiskey, and he's like boisterously explaining to his entourage of, I don't actually know who these dudes were who he was talking to. It was like he was just like, it was like he was talking to them. They were members of the press, but they were more like his entourage or his cronies or something. But he's going on about how the Sox are a lock to win the series. So obviously we're in full swing here. But I'm going to let him explain what he thinks.
No question. If my boys will win, it's just a matter of how many games it's going to take.
Think it could go to full 9?
9 games? Not a chance.
You sound pretty cocky.
I got the horses, Smitty. I got the horses. And more than that, I got the team, fellas. Kid Gleason's done a heck of a job at the helm this year, bring these boys together, smoothing out the defense, building up the offense, getting the boys to think and move together. Hell, they eat together, travel together, room together on the road. When it's time to play, they let off steam together. No room for prima donna.
And for the good of the team.
Yeah, for the good of the team. So as he's going on about this, that like listeners can't see, but we get some visuals of the players, and they try to show right away. There's right after this, essentially, they try to show that there's like division between the players. And primarily they're focusing on Chick Gandil and Eddie Collins. Do you guys remember that? Like it was Chick Gandil was kind of talking shit to Eddie, and Eddie is the one who was called Cocky Collins. He was kind of the clean cut college boy. So they try to get that going right away. And I noticed that they try to cover a lot of backstory in like the shortest amount of time possible.
Yes, very quickly.
Because you know, right after that, we have a quick scene where it's like Bill Burns and he's in the stands with Billy Maharg. And it's like they're trying to find players to lure into some sort of gambling scheme. So they want us to assume that like the World Series is about to start soon, like right after this game. And these gamblers are like, hey, we should throw a plot together to fix the World Series, right? And like it's just these two sitting in the stands. Which is probably not how it went down.
Yeah.
One of the other things that they also do is kind of give you the impression that Joe Jackson is illiterate, but not only by like having players make fun of him, but people in the stands as well.
Hey Jackson, you spell cat? All right, so let's go. Can you spell cat? Hey, mister, can you spell shit?
Hey, mister, can you spell shit? Joe gets made fun of quite a bit, obviously, by people. I can't imagine that people in the stands were like the White Sox fans would make fun of him, though, right?
Well,
Yeah, especially if they're going to the World Series.
Yeah. Well, fuck that guy in the stands either way.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
They also paint Buck Weaver in like a really good light. Buck Weaver, John Cusack. They kind of make sure that we know that he's just like a fierce competitor. He would never try to pull some gambling bullshit. In fact, Christopher Lloyd and who is Bill Burns, like he kind of says that Buck Weaver would never go along with it. I think one of the best things about this movie are the baseball scenes. Like, I don't know how you guys felt about them, but they did a great job of like getting us in on the action.
Definitely.
The camera work it feels real. I think there was one scene, I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was like where they're showing Joe who's up to bat. Joe Jackson is up to bat. And it was like this scene where he hits the ball and it follows him, and it just kind of follows him all around the bases. It was a really cool shot. Like the camera work was actually pretty excellent on that. It reminded me of like an actual like action shot that you would see in a baseball game.
Yeah, like a replay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
One other thing that they get out of the way really quick is the notion that Comiskey doesn't pay his players well. There's a comment from a reporter saying, like, under his breath, like, to Comiskey, he's like, if you don't like him so much, why don't you pay him a living wage? I think this is like very apparent that Elliot Asanoff had his hands in this, because that was one of his main points and main focuses on why these players took the money, right? And that's kind of been not more or less debunked, but people have said that that's not really the case. So they're trying to get a lot of different stuff in here. So first 5 minutes are over. The Sox win the pennant, right? They did it. And we get to see a scene where they're given their bonus, which is a case of champagne. And let's take a look.
What's the scoop, Harry?
Mr. Comiskey sent these down for you. His congratulations for a successful pennant race.
Well, that's wide of him. He didn't happen to mention when we could expect that bonus he promised us if we took the flag, did he?
This is your bonus.
Cheap bastard.
You idiots.
Fellas, if it was up to me... Kid, we got no beef with you. It's flat.
The man knows his champagne.
He does know his champagne. And I think we talked about this in our deep dive, that like one of the people who was there said it tasted like piss. So it makes sense that it would be flat.
And they juxtapose this in the movie with the party going on in the offices, where they have great champagne and lots of food. And
and that's the very next scene is like Comiskey, he's with his entourage and they're like toasting. And there was one weird thing, and maybe you guys can tell me why they did this, but they all like toast and then they throw their glasses into the fireplace. Is that is that an old timey tradition of good luck or something like that? I've never seen that before.
Is it a Jewish thing, Eric?
It is not a Jewish thing.
I'm kidding. Don't they break the glasses at the wedding, though, or something like that? I'm not very smart, clearly.
It's supposed to be a symbol of wealth and power.
There it is. Boom.
Nothing like wealth and power, or nothing to show wealth and power like breaking your glasses and making someone else clean it up.
Yep.
It is debated whether it was as common as it's shown in movies and in books and stuff.
That's actually I've never seen that in a movie before, and I was wondering, like, what the fuck? What is the symbolism behind that?
I think it's Hollywood shorthand for I'm so rich I don't need these.
Yeah, I can always buy more of these.
Okay. So we met most of the team now. At least visually, we've seen the team. They don't really give names. There's, we kind of have to guess on some of them. They won the pennant. They hate Comiskey, obviously.
Yeah.
And they all go off to celebrate at a bar. And for some reason, obviously, they wanted to save some time. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is at this same bar. Pretty much everyone that was introduced in the movie so far was at this place.
That's what Comiskey was saying in the beginning there. They all like blow off steam together. They just hang out together all the time, man. this is why they're such a good team.
And I don't mean just the team. I mean all characters in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The gamblers. The
It's the only bar in Chicago, guys.
Barely.
only
Like,
one bar in Chicago.
yeah, there's like the reporters are there. You know, I think we had seen what's his name, Hugh Fullerton. He's like the beat reporter for the White Sox. He's there. All the gamblers. I don't think Comiskey was there, but pretty much everyone that is important in this movie was there. And this is where the movie tries to portray how the fix gets put in place. Bill Burns is there with his boy Billy, but also Sport Sullivan is there. And he is having quite the interesting conversation with Chick Gandil.
Just supposing. Yes. You need at least 2 starting pitchers, a couple of infielders, a couple of heavy hitters. I mean, if you really want to be sure.
What about the Sox?
6, maybe 7, they'd go for it. I say you'd need at least 10,000 apiece.
That guy's fucking creepy.
Of course. Who could put that kind of money
That guy?
together?
I could.
You go back to Boston and turn 70 grand at the drop of a hat. I find that hard to believe.
You say you can find 7 men on the best club that ever took the field willing to throw the World Series? I find that hard to believe.
You never played for Charlie Comiskey.
Dun dun dun.
Charlie Comiskey. You
Charlie
cheap
Comiskey.
bastard.
So if you guys couldn't tell, the guy with the terrible fucking Irish accent is Sport Sullivan, who is played by Kevin Teague. I think that's how you pronounce it. Teague. He's been in a ton of movies. Most notably, he was one of the villains in the best movie ever made, motherfucking Roadhouse.
That's right. He was.
He's
Yeah.
a definite that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over the top acting in this movie. It was pretty piss poor, which I think was the case for most of the acting in this movie. But we'll kind of get into that later. Actually, no, I want to get into it now because I'm gonna be overly critical here. But I think this movie like tries to be too dramatic, and it's in weird spots throughout the whole thing. Like maybe it's the acting, I don't know, but it was, and that was not great. But it seems like they try to be too dramatic during the time that they shouldn't, and then not dramatic enough during some other key moments.
It seems like they based their acting on like, you remember these older movies and whatnot where they were super sort of like over dramatic with their roles. They tried to base it off like that. Like these are actually real people playing baseball and doing whatever. And it was just kind of like over the top, completely over the top. Like tone that down, please. But they didn't.
And it goes quickly from these dark, dramatic scenes, overly dramatic scenes, to bright, sunny baseball action.
True.
Yeah.
And then back to a dark room where shady deals are being made.
Yeah.
Back to baseball.
Yeah.
There was no middle ground. It was either super dark and dramatic, or we just won a baseball game.
Yeah, totally.
But we'll talk more about that as we go on, because there's some other moments that are interesting. So now Chick is trying to enlist some other players to get in on this fix. Now, guys, hypothetically, let's say that you were to try to get some of your closest friends and teammates to get in cahoots with a gambler and fix the World Series. Where would you want to have that conversation?
Some dark alley at midnight.
Paul?
In the middle of a bar where everybody is standing there all together,
Sure.
of course.
What if I told you that they had this conversation while taking a piss at the urinal? Good spot, right?
At that bar, in the bathroom at that bar. Yes.
In the bathroom at that bar.
Yeah, where clearly nobody else can hear this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where they chose to portray this happening, is while they were taking a pee. Chick, he pitches it to Swede Risberg, and then Fred McMullen walks in. And these dudes are just down. They're down right away. They're like, yeah, let's do it. But Bill Burns walks in to pitch him a fix as well. typical bathroom behavior, right? Bill Burns storms in and he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something." That was my Christopher Lloyd voice. I can't really do a Christopher Lloyd.
That was good.
Yeah. Marty, I want to talk to you about something. So one of the key players that Gandil needs to recruit is Eddie Sykot. But when he is approached about coming on board, he kind of refuses. But he's got a little meeting that he has with Charles Comiskey about a bonus that he was supposed to receive. So this is like after we get through the bathroom scene, Chick has like pitched all of his stuff to these guys. Cuts over to probably the next day, and Gandil trying to pitch it to Sykot, whatever. He says no, and then he's like, "But I got to go because I have a meeting with the big guy or the old man or whatever they called him." And so it's about a bonus that he was about to receive. Let's take a look at that.
You said if I won 30 games this year, there'd be a $10,000 bonus.
So,
I think you owe it to me.
Harry, how many games does Mr. Sykot win for us this year?
29, sir.
You had Kid bench me for 2 whole weeks in August. I missed 5 starts.
We had to rest your arm for the series.
I would have won at least 2 of those games. You knew that.
I have to keep the best interests of the club in mind, Eddie.
I think you owe me that bonus.
29 is not 30, Eddie. You will get only the money you deserve. Anything else?
No, Mr. Comiskey. That's it.
So Eddie's walking down the street. Oh, rib roast for 25 cents.
Dang. Formed beef, 16 cents.
10 grand.
Huh?
Before the first game. Cash.
What?
You heard me.
All right, so Sykot is in. He's in. He didn't get his fucking money from Comiskey. Now he's ready to throw the World Series.
Yeah, he's pissed.
He is. I would be too. And I think this is actually something that actually did happen. Sykot did not get his bonus, but it wasn't in this timeline. I think it happened earlier in the season, and it wasn't quite like that dramatic. But it did happen. So Bill Burns and Billy Maharg, they go to New York to find someone to finance a fix for them. And this is where we meet Arnold Rothstein. So Burns and Maharg give their little pitch through Abe Attell, who is Rothstein's like eyes and ears, so to speak. And it gets a little confusing here because after Attell pitches what Burns and Maharg pitched to them, he goes to Rothstein, but Rothstein doesn't want to finance this thing with Attell and Burns. But Attell goes back to Burns and says that Rothstein gave him the go-ahead. And then meanwhile, like Rothstein has this meeting with Sullivan where he essentially agrees to finance it through him. Did you guys kind of follow that?
No. The whole dealings of the gamblers getting the money and who is financing what was kind of a mess.
It was a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, because they jammed it all in so quick.
Yeah, it was jammed in like super tight, and the not everything lined up. It was just a weird situation. Basically, what they're trying to get at is that Bill Burns wants to fix a few games, I believe. Rothstein wants to fix the World Series, so he goes through Sports Sullivan. Let's take a quick listen to the meeting that Rothstein has with Sullivan.
Mr. Rothstein.
Let's hear it.
It's the series, Mr. Rothstein.
Seems to be a popular topic today.
I can get 8 men in, including Seacott.
That fucking accent is so bad.
So what do you need me for?
Well, I'm a big man in Boston, but Boston's a small town. The kind of cash that I need,
Man shouldn't bite off more than he can chew.
People watch what you do real close, Mr. Rothstein. If you or one of your people were to bet heavy on the Reds, well, you violate the action. The odds stay fat, and there's no direct link to...
Go home. Don't do anything till you hear from me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One thing that I thought about in this movie, and I don't know, that I'm weird when I watch movies. Have you guys ever noticed that, like, how the big boss in movies, or like the mob boss or whatever he is, they always show him like eating alone and taking meetings? Like it's like power move or something like that.
So Rothstein is almost an anti-Semitic trope in this movie. So? Oh, the gluttonous with a big nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little, it's pushing the boundaries for me.
Okay. I could see that. Yeah, because he's portrayed in other things kind of not in that bad sense of way. But what I was just meaning was, like, it always seems like whenever like you watch a mob movie or something like that, and it's always like a mob boss who's just, he's sitting there, he's eating his steak, chewing through his meal, and he's making deals. I don't know what it is, but it's an easy scene for directors to do. I guess
it's real. Yeah.
So after this little dinner meeting, Sullivan is at a bar with an associate, and he gets a visit from one of Rothstein's men, who just kind of casually drops $40,000 on the table. But he tells him, like, to keep Rothstein's name out of it. So this is, again, it's confusing. There's a lot of money flowing around. All of this money was supposed to go to the players, or at least most of it was supposed to go to the players. But Sullivan ends up sending his man back to Boston to place a bunch of bets elsewhere. Gambler's going to gamble, right? Like, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it was only like 10 of the 40 he gave to give to the players.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up.
Obviously, there's a lot going on here, and it's not really explained well. And overall, they just do a poor job of kind of piecing together the timeline, because I think you mentioned this earlier, Paul, but they make it seem like stuff happened overnight. Mm-hmm. But actually, it took a while to plan all of this, and like the scenes don't make sense, because 1 minute Sullivan is in New York meeting with Rothstein, and like the very next scene, he's on the train with the White Sox, who are traveling from Chicago to Cincinnati. So it's like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Anyway, the train scene to which I was referring to is also the scene where they recruit Joe Jackson to join the Fix. And he's doing this weird thing with a candle. Did you guys notice this scene where, like, I don't know if it was made up or they did it to make him look even dumber than he was, or if it was something that he actually did. Like,
where he's like staring.
Yeah, he was like staring at the candle with one eye.
Yeah.
And then he would like switch his hand and look at it with his other eye until he can't see. And he said it helps him with his batting eye. Never heard of that. Don't know if it's true. If it's not true, then it's a weird thing to make up.
Yes.
So he gets the pitch. Needless to say, Joe kind of reluctantly joins with the others because he heard who's already in on. He's like, what? No way. The only player who is not so sure is Buck Weaver.
Buck.
Although he kind of agreed to follow along with the Fix. It was kind of reluctant. But he's having second thoughts, which brings us to Cincinnati. The players that are in on the Fix meet with Abe Attell in their hotel, expecting to get money, but he gives them the runaround, says they don't get paid yet, with the exception of Eddie Sykott, who had the $10,000 he requested, like, stuffed under his pillow. So he gets his $10,000. Game one is here, and it comes with all the pomp and circumstance you would expect from a World Series in 1919. There's like a huge marching band playing. You know, fans are all dressed up, and it's a bright sunny day in Cincinnati.
Fans are fanning.
They're fanning. They're smoking. One of the characters that we didn't talk too much about was Hugh Fullerton, who we obviously talked about a lot in the deep dive, but he rolls around with like this much younger journalist the whole time. And they think there's some funny business going on here. So they have a chat with manager Kid Gleason. They're very suspicious of some things.
Look, I heard the same thing, fellas. Every series I've been to, there's been some rumor about a fix just to shake up the odds. Hang up and buzz, you hear a lot of screwy things.
Doesn't mean they're not true.
My guys would have told me something was up.
Sure they would, kid. Give them hell out there.
Let's keep separate scorecards. You circle every play that smells fishy. I'll do the same. We'll compare them after the game. Probably nothing to it.
Yeah. Nothing to it.
Nothing to it. I don't think this actually happened, but who knows? It just seems kind of silly to me. Like right away, they're like, let's just start circling names so we can, like, we're going to know who did it now. Maybe. Game 1 gets underway, and there's a kind of a neat scene with Rothstein. Over dramatic, obviously. But it's kind of a cool representation of how people would get updates from the games. Right. So he goes into this building that they're showing the game in quotes, and it's basically somebody who gets ticker tape and they know the plays, and then they move this little I don't know what you would call it, this little piece that's up on a big wall, and it's kind of just like one little piece they show, and the announcer will say like, Shoeless Joe got a single to right field, and then he would move a little piece, and that person would be on first place. So that's how some people would like listen to the game, because they couldn't get it on radio, they couldn't get it, there's no TVs back then, obviously. I thought it was a neat scene because he's going in there just to see if the fix is in, to see if Eddie Sykot starts the game off with hitting one of the players, which he does. And then Rothstein leaves and blah, blah, blah. So the game is underway. Sykot and the boys hold up their end of the bargain, but Buck Weaver does not. And we get a little bit of a stare down from Chick Gandil and Buck Weaver. I don't know if you guys noticed the intense stare that he gave Buck. The whole like game 1 scene is pretty intense. Like we see the guys like misplaying ground balls on purpose. The players are yelling at each other. Hugh's journalist friend is like circling the players who he thinks are throwing the game. There's like really dramatic music, and the White Sox get crushed, as we know. After the game, Fullerton's journalist boy, who I think his name is Ring Lardner, he asked Eddie to meet him in his hotel room to ask him if the series is on the level. To which Eddie lies to him and tells him, they just had a bad game. Pretty common for a journalist to invite a baseball player to your room. Joe Jackson also gets a visit from Fred McMullen, who delivers like a nice little envelope of cash and tells him to stop playing so well. Game 2, Lefty Williams is on the mound. He's doing his best to throw the game, but Buck Weaver is out there making plays. Did you guys notice there's another weird scene. Did you guys notice the scene where it was like the middle of the game, and then this airplane comes flying over, and everybody's like, "What is that?" And there was a dummy that fell from the sky.
Yes. In a White Sox
What was
uniform.
that about? Yeah, what like
I don't know.
I didn't have a chance to look it up to see if that actually happened, but
I was under the impression it was to like intimidate the White Sox, like you better fucking do this, you better stay scared, kind of thing, or
like the gamblers paid for that. Oh, okay.
That was the impression that I got from that scene.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I
you
didn't
hear
think
the
about
woman
that.
scream.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So the White Sox, they lose game 2, and now the tempers are flaring. Let's listen to some tempers flaring.
Williams, you son of a bitch! What's the matter with you guys? He tossed me up on the out there with those goddamn curveballs. What's this, Williams? What's this? Hey, how about it, Hey, kid!
How about you portables, kid?
I got nothing to say.
Hey, come on, don't be a sore loser.
I got nothing to say. I got off my back, all of you.
What's the scoop, Buck?
Print what you want, Smitty.
Got a good gag, Gamble?
Great scene, John.
Not bad.
Nailed it.
Yeah, so everybody's pissed. Everybody's tempers are flaring.
Yep.
So like later that night, there's kind of like this comical scene after the game at the hotel that doesn't seem really realistic, but I think it accomplishes a lot of like plot filling.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it's filmed makes it seem like it's all one shot, or at least for the most part, it's all one shot. And it starts with Kid Gleason, who's like knocking on Comiskey's hotel room to tell him that there may be some funny business going on, because now he suspects some shit. Then it pans across the hall, and Swede Risberg knocks on Gandel's door. Bill Burns and Billy Maharg, they like walk by, and then they knock on.
That reminded me of like an old timey, like, you know, he's just running across, going to each room. Like, I don't know. I was just like, oh my god,
it was like Scooby Doo in the different hotel rooms.
Dude, exactly.
So he goes to Avatel's, and then he walks across the hall to Sport Sullivan's hotel room door. And meanwhile, they're all like walking past each other.
Yes.
And they don't really blink an eye. Like there's no light bulb going off to say like, oh shit, why are there a bunch of notorious gamblers staying here with the players and the owner?
Yes.
Like it was a funny scene. Like I don't think it was intended to be funny, but it was funny because it there was just no way that would actually happen.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Moral of the story, or that scene, is in this case is that Comiskey now thinks that there may be a fix, and Abe Attell is essentially stiffing Bill Burns by handing him $10,000 and telling him that's it. So basically, it did its job, right? A lot of stuff happens in that scene. After that, they're back in Chicago. And Burns places a bet on the Reds with the $10,000 that he got from Attell. And Dickie Kerr is on the mound this time. Well, as you guys know, the game goes better for the Sox this time, with the exception of Gandil, who gets his name circled on the list by Ring. Okay? So we got another player on the list.
For being a jackass.
Yeah. We have ourselves a little montage of some of that hot jazz playing in the background. The Sox pulling out the win and Burns losing all of his money. So Burns is out now, right? After that, the next two games kind of go by pretty quick. Like it's pretty quick scenes. Like both of them are losses by the White Sox. And before we know it, the team is already headed back to Cincinnati, where the Reds are one win away from a championship. So they're on this train, and there's a weird scene, and I want to play it for you because I don't know. I have to, because it just made me laugh, I guess.
I'm forever blowing ball games, pretty ball games in the air. I come from shy, I hardly try, just go to bat and fade and die. Fortune's coming my way.
Do we know who this guy is?
That's Ring. That's Fullerton's
I'm forever blowing ball
assistant.
games, and the gamblers treat us fair.
Subtle.
Unprompted, just gets on the train,
Yep.
starts singing to the players that little song about forever blowing ball games. Yeah, I just wanted to include that because it was out of place for me anyway.
That was Ring.
That was Ring.
Are you okay?
So that's John Sayles, who played the role because he looked exactly like Ring.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool. We didn't talk about Ring at all in our podcast, so that I didn't know anything about him. I bet John Sayles just wanted to sing that song.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I wonder if he wrote it.
It's possible. The next game is basically another montage that ends in thrilling fashion. The White Sox win in extra innings, but maybe not on purpose. Like they make it seem like Chick Gandil was trying to hit a basic ground ball, but ends up like hitting a ground ball single to walk it off, and like his only response was, "Oh shit," because there's gamblers in the stands. They think the game is going to be, or they think the series is going to be over by this point, but he fucks it up. And again, another weird scene with Rothstein where he's like in the barbershop getting a shave or getting his hair cut or whatever. And then like this little like street kid comes walking in to tell him that the White Sox won the game or whatever. So before the next game, we have a couple of scenes where the players are starting to have some mixed feelings about the fix.
I'm forever blowing. Beautiful baseball game.
Okay, so here's Psychot.
It's open.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going?
Okay.
Still no word from Chick about the money.
I don't care about the money.
Yeah. Peculiar way to find that out, isn't it? What are you going to do out there tomorrow, Eddie?
I don't know yet.
I thought that you were supposed to be in charge of this thing. What happened to Sullivan?
He switched hotels. We can't seem to track him down.
And what happened to Attell?
He says he shot his wad in the third game when Kerr won. He says he's busted.
Well, the hell with them, then.
You two made an agreement.
Hey, we lose one more game and it's over. We've done 4 games. I only been paid for 1.
You don't know what these guys are like. Once you're in for good. You can't welch on these guys.
All right. So obviously they're not paying us. We're not going to do it. Also, right before the game, Kid tries to tell Eddie that he's not going to pitch today. But Eddie's like, fuck that. I can't miss today. And basically begs him to keep him in. So eventually he gets the nod. And Eddie, as we know, throws a gem of a game. And the other boys kind of bring the heat with their bats. The Sox win. So they're kind of telling the gamblers to fuck off at this point. Did you guys notice the way that they celebrate after like they win a game? They celebrate like they just won the pennant every single time.
Same bar, all the same people.
Like on the field, like if they win, they throw their gloves. They're like throw them up in the air, like woohoo! We just won a game. I don't know, just another funny thing. This win, though, guys, it wasn't taken too well because the next scene we listened to Kid Gleason like giving an excitable interview to reporters. But what we see on screen is Rothstein making some like angry phone calls to his gamblers. We don't hear them. We just see him like making the phone calls. Eventually, a phone call goes to a man who is shown pulling out his gun and like making sure it's in working order. It's very dramatic. I sense trouble, guys. Oh no. Well, this man with the gun decides to pay a little visit to Lefty Williams, who is set to start on the mound for Game 8.
Oh, friend, you want me to sign this too?
You're going to lose tomorrow.
Oh, is that so?
I know it for a fact. That your wife?
Yeah, what's it to you?
You don't lose tomorrow, she dies.
Oh, he's serious.
Who sent you?
You made a promise to certain people.
You son of a bitch.
You can't protect her. If I don't do it, somebody else will. First inning, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. He doesn't even show him the fucking gun. Like the whole point was like, this guy is the muscle. He doesn't even show him the gun.
He's like a foot shorter than him.
Yeah, he's like a foot shorter. Like, why wasn't Lefty like, what? Who the fuck are you? And then just kicks his ass.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. So Lefty's in some trouble. And he got the message, guys. Because he blows it in the first inning. The fans are fucking pissed. They're like throwing shit on the field. They're booing. Eventually, they lose the game. Right? We know that. Everyone is sad. Some dude is like playing taps in the stands, like once the game is over. I don't know if that actually happened in old timey games, but
absolutely had to.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. So we get this little like scene from Kid and Buck. Basically, it's like Buck Weaver trying to say that they didn't play their best, and he's kind of hinting at like some things were maybe not so much on the level, but he's like, hey kid, you already knew that, or something like that. Things kind of start to move pretty quickly from here on out. We have another jazz montage, and this time it's Hugh Fullerton like writing his famous article claiming the series was fixed, and all these people are reading it. I think this is one of the times where they really dramatize things, but because by all accounts, his article was not very well received. And the movie makes it seem like shit started to go down like right after the World Series, right? Which we know to be false. At the end of the montage, we see a newspaper reel showing that Comiskey is offering a $10,000 reward for information regarding the fix. And we have ourselves a snitch in the form of Eddie Collins.
Eddie motherfucking Collins, man.
Let's take a listen to what Eddie... We haven't actually talked about Eddie that much because he was only featured in like 2 scenes.
Now, I don't want any reward money, Mr. Comiskey. I just figure you should know what's what.
Why'd you wait till now to tell me this?
Well, I thought maybe it was only 1 or 2 games, that they'd straighten it out themselves. I didn't want to be a squealer.
I'll take it under advisement.
What's that mean?
You're the college boy. You tell me.
It's your ball club, Mr. Comiskey.
Harry, get me Alfred Austrian.
Protecting the organization that you've built and maintained is what's best for baseball. Now, some kind of investigation is going to be launched. Our job is to control that investigation. In fact, to appear to be leading that investigation.
Alfred, if I lose those players.
Well, you might not have to.
They are guilty.
Well, that, from a business point of view, is irrelevant. What's important is that your business, baseball, is going to take a shellacking at the ticket window unless you and your fellow owners make the public think that you are absolutely clean in this matter.
So basically, this kind of leads to the owners coming together to elect Kennesaw Mountain Landis as the new commissioner of baseball. For some reason, they show Landis like sitting at his desk just swatting flies.
Yes.
With a fly swatter. Like he's like this kind of, surly figure. And like the first scene is just him going, whatcha? And throughout the whole scene, you just hear a fly swatter while these guys are pitching him this idea. We have ourselves
some excellent negotiation tactics.
Yeah. Another jazz montage, but this time it's all the gamblers, including Rothstein. They're like boarding different trains and boats and whatnot to get out of the country because there's like, they decide like, oh shit, Kennesaw Mountain Landis is here. They're going to start this investigation. What are we going to do?
He was a lawyer beforehand?
He was a judge.
Judge, that's it.
Yeah, and then they wanted him to come in and clean up baseball. Anyway, they're all getting out of the country. The swatter is coming. That's what we're going to call him, the swatter. So there's a grand jury hearing about to begin for the players. And the first scene in this tries to portray them like signing some sort of deal for immunity if they give the goods to the grand jury. And it's interesting that they chose to include this because that was never actually proven to be true. But there's like a scene with Eddie Sykott, and this is one of the times where it was like overly dramatic. It's like David Strathairn, he's like trying to act so hard, giving his speech about how he didn't want to do it. He just had to do it for the money. I was trying to do it for my kids or some shit like that. Joe Jackson talks to them. He gives his side of the story. They have him sign with an X because he's illiterate. And he steps
Even
out
though
of
he didn't sign with an X in real life.
He didn't sign with an X in real life?
No, he made like his signature in real life is consistent. It's not his name, but it's a series of loops and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because most of the time his wife was with him when he would have to sign something, so she could read him what he was signing. She wasn't there, and they were like, "No, it's fine. Just sign it. Just sign it.
Didn't
Don't worry
they kind of
about
get
it.
him
You're
drunk
good."
too a little bit or something like that?
Were they?
I don't know. That's what I thought was going on.
I think back in those days, they were always a little drunk.
That's true.
It's called business drunk. So Joe steps out of the courthouse, and he's met with a mob of reporters. And there's like the really kind of like the famous saying where there's a kid who's out there and he's like, "Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so." I think that actually did happen, or there's reports that it actually did happen. Reports say that he said, "I'm afraid so, kid," but he never says that in the movie. So, well, we'll go with whatever. Now the trial begins. The players, they have him stepping into this courtroom, and there's like uproarious applause from those in attendance. We get to see testimony from Comiskey, Bill Burns, and Billy Maharg. During Maharg's testimony, this happens.
Who was present at this meeting?
Chick Gandil, Risberg, Hap Phelps, Seacott, Williams, McMullen, and Buck Weaver.
Joe Jackson was not present?
No, but he knew what was going on, just like he said in the confession.
To what confession are you referring?
The confession he gave to the grand jury.
Can I ask that the prosecution produce these alleged confessions?
Please bring them forward.
Uh-oh.
We don't have them, Your Honor.
Fuck.
They've been stolen.
Where are they going? Where are the people going right now? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the press to
Sit down or
file
I'm going
their
to clear
report.
this court.
All right.
So that happens. They don't have them. Spinning newspaper alert again. Every time we do a review, that shit happens. I don't know what it is.
It's real.
Kid Gleason takes the stand, gives his testimony, and he's asked what he thinks of the ball club now that they're accused of cheating. And he says, "I think they're the greatest ball club I've ever seen, period." The crowd erupts in the courtroom. Nobody says order. They just let him. He gets a standing ovation from the crowd, right? The final day of the trial arrives. Jury convenes, and the verdict is in. Not guilty. But we already knew that. The courtroom erupts again. But, guys, we know that the joy doesn't last for too long because of Kennesaw Mountain Landis. And it's kind of like an overlay of him, and he's giving his big speech about how any player who goes into gambling or talks with gamblers will never play baseball again. The movie ends with a scene like a number of years later. So the way that they did this, the way that they had the movie end, it was kind of weird because it was they didn't go into much detail about like what happens like right after the trial. They spent a lot of time on the games themselves, and I think they wanted to make just a baseball focused movie and then not show what actually really happened. That's why it was kind of the timelines were all fucked up. Anyway, it ends with a scene like a number of years later where Shoeless Joe is like playing under this pseudonym. Like Buck Weaver shows up and watches him. I don't think it really happened like that, but some players did try to go out and play it, but they were quickly shut down. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's the movie. It's over. They give a little blurb about what happened to these guys afterward. None of them played baseball again.
Yeah, they're all banned.
One guy tried to appeal his verdict over and over and over again until he died.
Wasn't that Buck Weaver?
Yeah, that was Buck.
Yeah.
Never got past it. So, and that's it. That's the movie, guys.
There it is.
So from a movie making perspective, we talked a lot about how time was condensed. There's a lot of Hollywood shortcuts and the actors talking very fast. John Landis was the studio's added to his contract that the movie had to be under 2 hours.
Oh.
Do you know what the final cut of the movie is?
159.
159:48.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I bet they wanted.
So-
I mean, it would have made more sense to make it like a 2-3 part series of some sort, with all those details. But
If they had an extra 20, 30 minutes,
yeah,
I think this would be a much better movie.
yeah.
I think I hope somebody does this again, like in the future, and I hope they make it a mini series or like a series, like on a streaming service, because I think there's so much more that they could do with it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
And
There's
give
too
it
many moving parts for 2 hours.
Agreed.
Way too many moving parts. I mean, it took us 3 podcasts just to talk about it.
Right.
So,
3
come
hours.
on, Hollywood, you can do better.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would say I'd give it, I don't know, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. It was okay. It was an okay movie.
If you like baseball,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
If you're not into baseball, I don't think this is going to interest you. There's not enough depth and intrigue, and
Yeah.
I think the missus was like intrigued by the stars in the movie, but quickly is like
Definitely.
doing other projects during the movie. Like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Well, and they're like, it's the acting is bad. Like I had a hard time getting through the acting because it was poor, and maybe it was the writing. Like the writing was probably the piss poor aspect of it.
But there was like John Mahoney was good.
He was good.
I mean, his acting wasn't
was
bad
pretty
at all.
good.
Yeah, there was a couple guys, but there was too many people going over the top trying to play the part of a 1920s guy. Hey,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
yeah,
It's almost as if they tried to make this movie look and sound like a movie from that era.
Exactly.
Or shortly thereafter.
that's exactly it.
Then they should have made it black and white.
Yeah.
That'd be
And
awesome.
went full in on it. They didn't go full in on it, so it seems like bad acting or questionable whether that was their intent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh well. It was okay.
but yeah, if you're into baseball, kind of recommended. If you're not, well,
Yeah.
there's other choices.
Don't bother.
Yeah.
Just listen to our review.
Yep, way better.
All right, guys. That's it for today.
Yep, no more Black Sox scandal stuff, Nick.
Thank God. It's over.
Yeah, moving on.
Moving on.
So we said that last time.
Yeah.
And here we are again.
Yeah, I know. Fuck.
But this time it's real.
Oh well. Yeah, we got more stuff to talk about next week. Big stuff coming up, guys. Playoffs are here, or close to being here.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
It's gonna be
We'll
exciting couple
recap
weeks.
our predictions.
Yep.
That's the right word.
Yeah, I think
Anyway.
so.
And we'll make some new ones for the postseason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited. As always, follow us, like us, subscribe. Tell your friends about us.
Yeah.
If you have any friends.
Share your opinion on the Black Sox scandal.
Yeah.
Or the movie 8 Men Out. All of it. Let's hear it.
But we will see you guys next week.
Yes.
Adios.
Adios.
Adios.